Welcome to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report, the only show that provides you with the best insight and information to everything Franklin County sports. And now here's your host, Bobby C.
Hello and welcome to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. I'm Bobby C. Want to welcome you here today. I just want to say that we have got into tourney time and the results, I have to be honest with you folks, have not been favorable. We're going to talk about all of our teams on what they were able to achieve. Of course, the best part was they all were able to get to postseason play. The results, though, have not been the greatest, but we want to talk about some of the good things that did happen along the way. Want to thank our underwriters here today, the Four Leaf Clover Restaurant in Berniston, also Denny's Pantry, Berniston Road in Greenfield, by Sean Hubert in Hubie's Tavern and Restaurant, Avenue Way in Turners Falls, and by Lisa Albert of Albert Hearing Services, 33 Riddell Street in Greenfield. These folks have worked very hard to be able to support these kids. I hope you can support them. Want to thank our wonderful producers, Philippe Simone and John Meisner, for the wonderful job they did with our special games of the week and also what they do here each and every week here on the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. Yes, take a peek at our 5 games that we had a chance to be able to give you for our games of the week. Of course, now that the season is over, we're at a point now where we'll start up our games of the week. Probably our regular games of the week with the high schools will start in September, but we're hoping to try to get maybe 1 or 2 of the American Legion baseball teams based out of Greenfield that we're hoping to be able to do this summer. But we'll keep you posted on that, whether it's on Facebook or right here on our show. Well, why don't we get things started for you? There were 3 teams that made it into tennis, and 3 of those teams are unfortunately all out. Those are the boys and girls at Greenfield and also the boys tennis team at Turners Falls. Well, it turned out to be a day that Greenfield girls didn't want to have happen. They ended up getting beat, and they got beat really handedly by Mount Greylock, 5-0 in tennis. I will say that Alexis Silk and her team had a wonderful season. Congratulations goes out to each and every one of those tennis players and to the first-year coach on the wonderful job she did with these young ladies. They do have a very talented group that's still around, but I will say they're going to be missed because their seniors were a big part of this program as well. But Coach Silk will do a nice job, I guarantee, being able to rally these ladies for next spring. But a very tough loss as they got beat in the tournament to Mount Greylock. So once again, I just want to say that Coach said despite the loss, it was an impressive season. You know, we dealt with some adversity throughout. The regular season schedule was definitely a problem because of all the rainy conditions and a lot of the postponements that happened. But that happened throughout all of Franklin County during the spring, so really everybody had to deal with that. She also said that she thinks she learned how to roll with the punches this season, even when it came down to the end when we had matches that ended up being tough. But hey, the bottom line was, she said, it was a very impressive season for her and her Lady Green Wave team. Well, the boys team from Greenfield, they ended up winning against Frontier in the first round, but ended up getting beat in the second round. And I will say that they ended up having a very good season as well. But they ended up losing, and they ended up getting eliminated from the tournament. That was too bad, too, because it seems like it was a tough opportunity that they thought that they could have been able to hopefully get, was that win over Belchertown. But Belchertown, the 3 seed, beat the number 2 seed Greenfield 4-1 to end Greenfield's season. Also, the boys tennis team from Turners Falls, they ended up losing, so they got beat by Lee High School. Lee High School, I got to be honest with you, has had the Turners Falls Thunder's number in every sport all season long. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. Well, you look at tennis, you look at our 3 teams, yes, they're out, but they all had successful seasons. The one bright spot for Greenfield that I want to be able to throw out was the young team of the 8th graders, their second doubles team, that ended up doing some amazing things for them. And I will tell you that one of those players Daniel Penichetti was one of my Little League players for 2 seasons. And that kid, what he has been able to do in tennis is very impressive to me because he was a pretty good baseball player. And he had to make a choice of whether he was going to continue with playing baseball in the spring or to be able to play tennis. And this youngster came in at a time where they needed him and Petrie to be able to come in and make a helpful difference to this team, and they did it. And I will tell you right now that Daniel and his partner did a wonderful job. The young 8th graders in second doubles, they were the only win, believe it or not, in that loss to Belchertown. They ended up winning also against Frontier, and they ended up winning right down the stretch as well in many of their matches. So congratulations to those 2 guys. Matter of fact, I'm going to reach out to those 2, and I'd like to get a couple of those young kids that have so much talent and a big future with tennis here in the area that we'd like to get them as a guest this summer here on the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. And I can tell you that I know they would love to be able to come on and be able to talk tennis. And then we can even talk about the decision that Daniel had to make on whether he was going to play baseball or play tennis. Well, I think by what I've seen so far, he definitely made the right decision. Well, here on the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report, we want to let you know that baseball and softball are very big deals, and it always has been. And it is because people talk about baseball and softball. And I will say that the hottest team going in locally was the Greenfield boys. And the Greenfield boys went in with some very big high hopes as well. Of course, they had probably the 2 toughest teams in all of Western Massachusetts to contend with Taconic and Frontier. Now, they already beat the Frontier boys earlier this year. That was one of our games of the week that you can enjoy here on GCTV. That game was a wonderful game that was played over at Greenfield High School where the Green Wave ended up winning by a run. It really was truly a wonderful game of the week that we were able to have, and you should check that game out. I think you'll be very impressed with how well that game was played. But Greenfield, they went in on an 8-game winning streak. They got rewarded with a bye, and then they ended up playing a first-round game against Mahar, and they won big, 11-1. Their wonderful pitcher, who really has carried this team throughout the year, and I will give him credit where credit's due, is senior Owen Phelps. Owen Phelps had a wonderful season for Greenfield this year. He also had an opportunity to be able to do well offensively. His number 2, his curveball, has been very effective for him, and he is a huge reason why Greenfield was able to do the things they did this season. They ended the regular season on a very high note, like I said, with the 8-game winning streak, but they also went in with a 15-5 record. The thing that sort of got people wondering what happened was, why did Greenfield end up with a 4 seed and not a 3 seed? Because the 3-seeded team was Wacona. But Greenfield ended up beating the number 2 seed Frontier during the season. Didn't he really have any bad losses against anybody? So people are like, why didn't Greenfield, going in with that 8-game winning streak, get a chance to get that number 3 seed? Or, for that matter, why didn't they get the number 2 seed? Well, that was a big talk going around the field over the last 3 weeks. But the one thing we can say is you have to play the games and you have to get championship Saturday. So no matter who's in the way, you got to beat those teams to get into the finals. Well, with a big win over Mahar, 11-1, Greenfield ended up taking on a team that was very, very good. And they came to Greenfield. Another one of our games of the week that we have for you this week was the game they played against Southwick. Southwick High School came in as the number 5. Greenfield was the number 4 seed in Division 3. And I can say that it was really sort of a bittersweet situation. The sweet thing was that they were going in on a 9-game winning streak, looking for win number 10 and a chance to be able to continue in the tournament. They would have had to take on Taconic High School. And if you notice what I just said, would have. They ended up getting beat by the number 5 seed Southwick 7-2. Southwick did an amazing job at being able to hit the ball. They played really good defense, and they also had effective pitching. And when you have all three of those ingredients, that usually equals a victory. With that said, Greenfield ended their season, and they surely have nothing to hang their heads on. I think they had a little bit more of a high hope going in, hoping to get 2 championships Saturday. But their big goal was to just even to get to take on Taconic. And that was to be able to know that they had to get through at least 2 games to get there. And they did get beat by a team who beat them earlier this year as well. A guy by the name of Bart Shea ended up throwing a shutout against Greenfield earlier this year. Well, I will say that they have very good pitching. They also had hitting that was just incredible. Matter of fact, the bat of Dan Burnett was absolutely incredible. He also made a couple of beautiful plays at shortstop, and he came in for relief and shut down the Wave to be able to secure the win for this Southwick team. You know, I want to say congratulations to the seniors, you know, guys who worked really hard this year. I want to first of all say that they do have a senior that was a guy who didn't get a lot of playing time, but surely made the commitment to the team, in Benny Hernandez. Also, they had Kyle Devlin. Kyle came in for relief for Joe Peabody, who really struggled against Southwick, and he really bared down well. And really, it wasn't until the last inning where Southwick picked up 3 big runs to sort of secure that victory, where things were looking pretty good for a while there. But when it was 4-2, only a couple runs away, and Greenfield unfortunately gave up those extra runs. That's what got them in trouble, and that's where they lost 7-2 against Southwick. Another senior I want to say goodbye to is Nate Hazelton. Wonderful job by Hazel. Did a great job playing right field. He also was a catcher as well. Another senior is going to be missed is Owen Phelps. We talked about Owen earlier and the great year he had. He'll be going and playing baseball for Pine Minor College, based out of Boston, Massachusetts. So that's where he will be playing some baseball. And then there's Hunter Campbell, the first baseman. Hunter had a great year. First base, excellent first baseman. You know, he scooped a lot of great balls out of the ground in that Southwick game. Could have been a lot worse, I think, with scoring if Campbell wasn't able to scoop a bunch of those balls out of the ground. So really a nice season for Hunter. Hunter will be going to Colby Sawyer College up in New Hampshire. I just want to say congratulations to those seniors for the wonderful job they did to represent their school, their team, and their community. So congratulations to them from all of us here at the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. They got a great future. Peabody will be back. Hart will be back. Also, you got Jake Sack. You got David Carey. You got Ryan Cody. Hey, they're going to be okay. Greenfield's got a pretty good program. And Coach Schuschnick continuing to coach. This guy is working on almost 50 years of coaching. I mean, how incredible is that? To be able to have a man who has made such a commitment to this community like Coach Schuschnick. So congratulations once again goes out to the Green Wave on a phenomenal season and a great run. Think about this, folks. In their last 10 games of the year, they ended up 9-1. And that one, unfortunately, was the unfortunate loss to Southwick to end their season. Well, another team that ended up being in the tournament was the Mohawk Warriors, and they ended up getting eliminated as well. You know, you really think about this team, they started off 0-6. They weren't even able to get on their field for a while because of all the rain we had this spring. They're literally a field that's in a gully at Mohawk in the back of the school, and it was literally a swamp for the beginning of the season. And Coach Bill Buck and his team had to play all their games in the beginning of the year on the road. And that's because their field wasn't ready or playable for them to be able to play those games at home. They started off the season 0-6. They went on a huge run at the end. They were one of the first 2 teams, each team who places first or second in their division, they get to continue in postseason play as an automatic bid. And Mohawk was able to do that. And even with a sub 500 record, they got in and they were able to at least compete in the tournament. They lost a really tough game to that number 3 seed Wacona team, 5-3. They almost beat the number 3 seeded team in Division III, but they ended up bowing out as well. So them and Greenfield ended their season. You know, you talk to Coach Buck, and he'll tell you that he's very proud of the way these kids played. You know, we did start off 0-6. Making the tournament's a great accomplishment. You have to pat those seniors on the back, too. Those kids really did a wonderful job, especially the last couple of weeks of the season. We had a couple of me's, as we call it, and the reason why we lost this game against Wacona, me's equals ME, which is mental errors. And sometimes when mental errors get the best of you, they usually end up with a bad result. And that's exactly what happened in the loss for Mohawk. So their season has come to an end. You know, another team that really had a tough time this year, and they did make the tournament due to the Sullivan rule, sub 500 record as well, are the Turners Falls Thunder. Their boys team ended up taking on Lee High School. You know, you really look at this program and you say to yourself, well, they have a lot of kids on this team that have returned for their team. They should be okay. You know, what really hurt their team this year was some really awful times where they weren't hitting the ball well, and pitching really got the worst of them this year. It was not having enough guys to pitch. You know, the one kid who was able to hold them throughout the tournament was a young guy by the name of Jake Dodge. Jakey Dodge has quite the future as a pitcher here in the area. And him on the mound really gave Turners a chance to win. When some of the other kids were coming in, the confidence factor wasn't always there. And I think that that was a mental situation that goes through a kid's head, knowing that they haven't pitched well, or they're put in a position where they're needed and they haven't really pitched much lately. And that's what happened with Coach Minkler's team this year, is that they didn't have consistent pitching, but they also didn't have consistent bats either. You know, when you really think about where this Thunder team ended up, it was a sort of disappointing end of the season for them. And I think it was a factor of the bats not being consistent and also the pitching. But the kids worked hard. The kids went out, did what they could do. It just was a consistency problem. And I think that when you look back and you say, what was the biggest problem this year for Turners, I would say that those two were the big factors. But the kids never gave up. They made it in by the Sullivan rule because they won enough games in their division and Division IV for them to be able to make the tournament. They went up against Lee, and that's a team I honestly thought that they were going to be able to beat, and they just weren't able to get it done. Matter of fact, Lee really handed it to them pretty good. It was one of those, tough losses for the Thunder, as they ended up getting beat 9-3 at home in a game where they just couldn't get it together. And having your best pitcher out there still wasn't enough. But Jake Dodge, wonderful season, my friend. I just want to say that they had some wonderful seniors on that program too. Really nice kids that have been able to really get it done for them over the years. Guys like Ryan Campbell. I just couldn't say more about the way Ryan played this year. Amazing year for him, especially defensively. He is, no doubt, one of the best center fielders, left fielders, right fielders. We call it the fielders, outfielders. He's one of the best in all of Western Massachusetts. And he plays for Turners. He's also my godson, and I'm sorry, I got to give the kid kudos. He's an amazing player. Robbing home runs and diving for balls and making beautiful plays, throwing guys out at home plate. That's what Ryan did throughout the year for this Thunder team. Sometimes they needed him to even pitch, something he hasn't done in years because he's always played the outfield. He's an amazing left fielder. When one of their players went down to an injury, they had to move him into center field. But it doesn't matter where he played. He just was able to get it done. You know, you look at Kyle Dodge. Kyle, another senior, worked hard, always played tough in any sport he ever played. Another kid who went out there, did what he could do. You know, Kyle, great athlete, quarterback of the football team, also really good, hard-playing basketball player, and then goes out on the diamond playing second base and doing everything he can to help his team. I mean, these are good leaders that they had. Another guy is Dom Carmi, Big Dom, played catcher, big guy behind the plate, definitely a big hard-hitting guy. When he hit the ball hard, but he did a nice job behind the plate this year and really was able to help control what needed to be controlled with his main ace in Jake Dodge. They were quite the combination, those two guys, when Jakey was pitching. You know, the little shortstop guy, we call him the little guy, but, you know, he's a great kid, man. Jake LaBelle, good old Jakey. You know, the kid's always played hard. He's always been one of the smaller guys out there. But Jake LaBelle, top shelf kid, and went out there, did his best, played shortstop, and, you know, everything he's played in his career has always been good, too. Hard worker, especially on the soccer field, too. Always worked hard out there, too. So good job by Jake Dodge. And, Jake LaBelle for the wonderful job he did. And another senior out there that we want to be able to recognize is really a kid who, to me, is really they have guys on this team that all have a role, okay? Campbell's your outfielder. You know, you had Kyle Dodge at second base. You had Jakey over at short. And then you had Dom behind the plate doing what he does. And then, you say to yourself, what does it take to be able to have leadership on your team? Well, leadership comes in many ways, and with this Turner's Falls team, there were guys who were able to step up and be able to, try to get their team focused, try to get them motivated, try to get them involved. And that's sometimes very hard to do if the younger kids aren't responding. And they have a lot of younger kids that I think did respond for them. You think about Letta Tamaki, he's only an 8th grader playing third base. Like I said, Jake Dodge, very young. You still got Johnny Fritz, who's going to come back. You got Jaden Whiting, who's going to come back. They got some really good kids that are going to be able to be a part of this program. So there's guys that aren't going anywhere. But good old Burnett, there's another kid who just comes in, does what he possibly can, and really doing everything he can to help his team. And I want to give credit where credit's due because he's another kid who I think was a big spark on their team this year too. They got Robeson, who will be coming back. They have guys who can play at Turner's. It's just getting the pitching together and being able to, yes, you got it, get the hits that they need, timely hitting to be able to win games. So congratulations to the Turner's Falls Thunder on being able to get in the tournament. You had a tough schedule, and you were just lacking a couple of things. But unfortunately, Lee got the best of you. Franklin County Tech School, they ended up making tournament. They beat Pioneer, 2 teams that both made it in. We knew that one of them was going to be in, one was going to be out. Franklin County Tech School, nice run down at the end of the year. They really ended the season on a very big high note. They end up beating the team that's been a little bit of a rivalry with them in Pioneer, and they pulled off the 5-4 victory as the 9 seed beat the 8 seed in a very good game that happened last week, and a really good matchup between those 2 teams. If you really think about what the Franklin County Tech was able to do this year, you got to be impressed on the way that they had a great run at the end. Sim Manietti what a year that he had this year. The senior really kicked it into full gear to help his team. He was truly a senior leader for this team this year. You know, you look at Max Charest, another senior. He had a great year too. What about Bergman? He had a great year too. And you look at Pelletier. He had a great year as well. Young kid in Nate Sciandra. This kid's young, talented, good pitcher. Prasal's lucky because Coach Prasal is going to be able to get him back. Max Lay is going to come back. You're going to have him too. A couple of really good pitchers. A nice 1-2 punch for the Tech School next year on the mound. Of course, they are losing some really good players as well. I got to tell you, what about Cole? You know, that kid had a great year in basketball. He had a great year to be able to have for their baseball team too. Truly a talented kid for this Franklin County Tech baseball team. You know, this Pioneer team is very young here, folks. A lot of young players, a lot of talent. So they're not going far. Yeah, they're going to lose Jack Loud. That's a guy that's always been a really good player for them. They're going to lose him. But you got Jared Hubbard. You got Ryan Potter. You got the Quins. Museau's going to be gone. But a lot of young cast of players that are very talented that are going to be able to help out this Pioneer team. So Pioneer baseball looking good in the future here. And I will say the Franklin County Tech School has two really good pitchers in Lay and Sciandra that'll be able to come back to help their team next year. You know, when you think about the baseball situation we had here, we had Frontier, who also made tournament, and they are phenomenal. I don't even know what to say, except for they are one of the best teams in all of Western Massachusetts. And the reason why I say that is because the truth is they are. You know, you think about who's on this team. You have the talented pitching that they've been able to have throughout the year. And you talk about the supporting cast of players. You got Jacob Bryant. You know, you got guys like Hildreth, who's been able to throw. You got big Xavier Santiago, who's been able to come out of the pen, throwing hard for them. You got Dylan Apanel. He was injured at the end of the year, but now he's back for playoff play. That's huge. Having a kid like him to be able to be available is huge for this Frontier team. You know, you look at some of these other players like Wakus, who is a very talented athlete. And the list goes on and on. You got Kalen Evans. I mean, they just have a very, very good team. And they're the ones who are going to take on this Taconic team, most likely, for Western Mass. Now, if Frontier beats Wacona, which I think they can, it'll be a matchup between them and Taconic, a team that they've already played. They will meet each other on Super Saturday. You know, that's going to be a game that's going to be very exciting. And if they get the Super Saturday, which is this weekend, it'll be down at Lorden Field at the University of Massachusetts for a 1:15 start. And Frontier could be going for a Western Mass Division III championship. But Taconic is ranked number 1 in all of Western Mass as the best team out of the Berkshires. Yes, any division, they're ranked number 1. They are that good. But if anybody can give them a run and anybody can beat them, it's this team from Frontier that hopefully will get there on Saturday to take a shot at them. They are a very good program. Coach Skinny Williams has done a wonderful job with these kids. He's worked very hard with them over the last few seasons, and he's looking for an opportunity to get his team to Championship Saturday. And I wish those guys a lot of luck in their game against Wacona so they can have an opportunity to get to Championship Saturday. And hopefully next week when we talk about our show, we could talk about them as Western Mass champions. You know, you look at softball and you say, who are the big softball teams around here? Greenfield, Frontier, Turners. Two of those three are still in. Everybody else is out. And one of those three teams that got beat was the Greenfield Lady Wave. And I'm going to tell you, it was a tough loss for them. They ended up losing in 9 innings. They went into extras and got beat by Wauconah High School. Wauconah made the trip all the way from Dalton down to Greenfield. That game was played last week on Friday night, and they ended up pulling off a huge win over Greenfield. And I will say that there was a lot of excitement that was happening in that game. It was back and forth throughout the night. And when all was said and done, Wauconah went home with that victory. It ended a year for some seniors who have just been absolutely incredible for the Wave. When I mention these girls' names, you've heard much about them. Reagan Hickey. What more to say about Reagan Hickey? Best field hockey player in Western Mass. 1,000+ score in basketball. Great second base player for the softball team. Incredible future for her. Sam Smith. Sam Smith, oh my goodness. Wonderful goalie. Field hockey team. Many championships. Amazing center for the basketball program. 1,000-point score. Shortstop. Hits bombs. Lots of home runs. Lots of wonderful things. She battled a knee injury this year that really set her back, and really set her back in the fact that she could have done a lot more dominant things if that knee wasn't a problem. She is an incredible athlete, just like Hickey. I'm going to bring up another name too. Audrey Brusciano. Amazing field hockey player. Really good softball player. Third base, talented girl, comes from a very athletic family. Father was an incredible player in college and high school at Greenfield. Still does coach his son. Just a really good athletic family. And yes, Audrey Brusciano is graduated from GHS. She part of that great senior team. Let's keep going. What about the pitcher? Olivia Joy. Olivia Joy is awesome. Really good field hockey player, very effective basketball player, and a wonderful, and I mean wonderful, pitcher for GHS. Breaking records, being able to keep her team in many games over their career. She is going to be so missed by this team as well. You know, Nikki Miner, there's another girl you don't hear a lot about, but let me tell you something. What a great defender she is for the field hockey team. What about Nikki on what she does for this softball team? She ended up coming up with some big hits in that loss against Wauconah High School in this tournament game to keep her team around. She don't say much. She's very quiet, very humble, but a very effective athlete. It just amazes me that you lose some really good talent, but you also have reloaded with many great players too. Greenfield still has some really good players that are coming back. Caitlin Lavoine, Rachel Dodge. They have Kelsey Richardson. Gianni Conti is going to be the new pitcher. That is very good. She will come and take over for Olivia Joy. You know, there still some really good athletes that are still going to be able to help your team. And that's the best part about Green Wave softball. Great feeder program through the Greenfield Girls Softball League. And now they're going to be able to reload for the 2020 season after losing some very great athletes that are leaving the program to graduation. So to all those seniors, it's been amazing covering you. You really are wonderful athletes. You're also great students, and you're also wonderful representation of your community. And I just want to say, you're all class acts, and I think that you ladies have a wonderful future ahead of you, and I wish each and every one of you the best of luck. Guess trying to talk today, a little bit of an issue here. But it's wonderful to see what these ladies have been able to achieve. You know, this Frontier girls softball team, very, very well. They ended up with a big upset over East Hampton. They're going to continue in postseason play. You know, think about if they end up winning their game this week, they get to go to championship Saturday. How sweet is that? You know, they have worked really, really hard. You know, you really think about what some of these teams have been able to achieve, and this softball team from Frontier has been very effective. Charlotte Doulette, big hitter, third baseman. You know, you look back and you say, you know, what else they got? Well, they got a lot. They got Olivia Dean. They got Macy Ring. They have really good athletes that are over there, over at Frontier. They have athletes in every sport. And the thing is people say all the time, how do they get 3 or 4 teams in the same season to be able to be as competitive as they are when their school is so small? That just goes to show you how dedicated the athletes are at that school. It just amazes people because they're that good. And this team, who ended up knocking off the number 2 seeded East Hampton Eagles, are now only 2 wins away from a Western Mass championship in Division III. That's pretty cool. But one team that's going to stand in their way is Hampshire Regional. They have an 8th grader who's absolutely amazing. Her name is Joss Meddy. Joss, like Jocelyn, Meddy. She's 8th grade. She's big. She's strong. And she is just an amazing pitcher. She also can hit the cover off the ball, too. She is probably going to be the best softball player to come out of this area in a while. And people say, are you serious? Oh, no, I'm serious. She is an amazing, amazing pitcher. What about Turners? Everybody says, what about the Thunder? They're amazing. Oh, no, they're amazing. But they're amazing because of many things. There's a lot of things that make the Turners Falls Thunder what they are. Number 1, you got a Hall of Fame head coach, and that is Gary Mullins. Gary Mullins has an expectation. The expectation is, if you play for me, you're going to give 120%, or you will enjoy the bench. Period. You will play as a team. You will play your position the best of your ability. You will practice on Sunday, and you will get a lot out of this because I have 7 coaches that are going to help you. Oh, yeah. 8 coaches coach Turners Falls softball. Go to a game and you tell me if you can find 8 coaches at any other school in this area. Not going to find it. You'll find 3 in Greenfield. You'll find 1 in Pioneer. That's right, 1 at Pioneer. You'll find 2 at Mohawk. You'll find 2 that you'll find at the tech school. That's about it. Now, you find one or two coaches everywhere else. Greenfield is lucky because they have 3, and that's a family affair. Coach Ryan Lovett has her father and her sister that help her. So they have 3 coaches. But 8 coaches, 1 Hall of Fame, 7 assistants to make a difference in their team. How about a program of 11 kids to start the year? Then as the year goes on, Gary likes to bring in some of the JV players, give them a little experience to see what it's like to be able to play at the varsity level. Whether they get a lot of playing time or not is different, but if they don't, they get a chance to at least see what it's like to be able to be in this atmosphere. They are amazing. They will, and you can mark my words, they will win Western Mass, and they will probably end up winning a state championship too, because this was supposed to be the rebuilding year at Turner's Falls. There's no rebuilding. It's called reloading. And when you reloaded, the girls responded. And that's why this team is so good. I have seen 9 Turner's Falls games this year. And I will tell you this, they are the real deal. They have a pitcher who's going to come back next year and the year after. She's amazing. Jade Tyler is amazing. Josh Meddy hasn't caught up to Jade Tyler yet. She probably will, and probably surpass Jade. But that's okay, because that means she's a superstar. Because that's what I think of Jade Tyler. I think of her as a superstar. And I'm going to tell you why. Because her composure and her leadership skills are phenomenal. What she does in that circle as the pitcher of this team is phenomenal. Her bat and the way she's been hitting is pretty special. I love watching this girl play, and I have nothing but the utmost respect for her game and who she is as a person. What about Cassidy Wozniak, their shortstop? She's a senior. She's going to be gone. But look what she's been able to do in her career in sports. 100-point club for field hockey. Boys hockey team. Incredible player. What she's done for this team in softball is bar none. She can hit, she can field, she's got a cannon of an arm, and she is a senior that this team is needing to be able to get them to hopefully another state title. I have nothing but the utmost respect for Cassidy. Her and I are buds, and I'm glad that I have that friendship with her. She's always been so wonderful to me, and I've always given her that same mutual respect, and I wish nothing but the best of luck with her over at Sacred Heart, where she is hoping to be able to play some hockey. And I'll tell you right now, if they need a really good athlete for any of the other sports, they might want to take her on, because she truly is one of the best athletes in this area. Cassidy Wozniak will be missed when the season ends for the Turner's Falls Thunder, but it hasn't ended yet. They've only just begun. You know, another senior on this team for the Thunder, and she doesn't say much, she's very quiet, is their first baseman, Lexi Lacey. She's very effective. She plays a great first base. Her hitting is up and down a little bit. You know, there's days where she hits the ball hard, gets on, and then there's days where she struggles a little bit. But that doesn't matter, because she does what she needs to do to help her team. But like I said, she's one of the quiet ones out there. Doesn't say much, but she lets all of her talking do what it needs to do when she's out on the playing field. And Lexi will be missed by this Thunder team at the end of the year. You look across the diamond and you say, look at that catcher. Wow, she's really good. Oh no, she'll be back next year. Allie Murphy. Whew. Kid can play. Allie Murphy is a gamer. She is a leader. She hits the ball really hard. She's very strong. She's got a strong arm. She'll throw you out. Second base easily. People don't take chances against Allie Murphy because her arm usually wins. But she has been an incredible part of this Thunder program, and she is going to help them hopefully win a state title, because that's where I want this team to be, because what they have achieved this year is just unbelievable. Second baseman, her sister, Taylor Murphy. Shoulder surgery, had to take the year off from basketball. Wonderful volleyball player during the fall. Great softball player. Lefty, spray hitter. Good fielder, trying to rebuild her arm again. So that's why she's playing second base. She normally would be playing some short, but she can't because she's rebuilding right now, trying to build up the strength in that arm. But she'll be back next year where Cassidy will be graduated, and hopefully that's where she's going to be able to be. If the rehab goes well with the shoulder, she'll be able to play shortstop. She's going to be a huge help to this team over the next couple of years. So young and so talented. Juliana Rode, third base. Wow. More can we say about her, man? She is totally legit. Plays a good third bag. She's strong. She's had a good year hitting this year for her team. She's honestly built a lot of power into her swing as well. And another good teammate that you want on your team, Juliana, has also grown a lot as a better player with this group of ladies. Eliza Johnson, left fielder. She may be small. She's got a cannon of an arm. She's really great fielder. She hits the ball well. She's a good part of this team. She's pretty quiet too. Doesn't really say much. But I'll tell you what, she lets her actions on the field do the talking. I look out to right field, and this girl I'm really impressed with, Haley Bogus. Haley has had a great year. She's played a lot of basketball, and to me, I think her best sport is softball. She's an excellent right fielder. She's got a great arm, lefty hitter, hits the ball really well, and has hit the ball really well this year for her team. She has been one that's really helped this team get over the hump, as in her skills of what she's been able to do for them has been a true help. And what about the center fielder? Another wow player, Olivia Whittier. Olivia Whittier is just an incredible player. She don't say much either. She really don't. She lets her actions speak as well. It's funny how a team that is so good can be so humble. That's Turner's Falls softball, 2019. They just go out and play. Get it done. Do what you got to do it. Olivia Whittier, she is an incredible swimmer. She is really a great softball player. She's been playing since she was in 8th grade with this team. So she's got a ton of experience. And with her in center field, you can't go wrong with her speed, her arm, and her ability to track down balls. Olivia Whittier is also a key ingredient to this Thunder team. We could talk about a couple of people that come off the bench. Mercedes Morales, Katie Reynolds. Those two girls have had a really good year to help out their team. Taryn Fair has been out all year with an injury. She's going to be back next year with this team. They just keep reloading. They got Wiles that'll be helping their team. They're fine. They're fine because of a Hall of Fame coach with 7 assistants that can help make these girls better. If there's one thing I can say about this Thunder team as I get ready to wind down our show, but also to say congratulations to the season they've had and the achievements that they've made so far, and hoping that they're going to get to that championship Saturday for the States and this Saturday for Western Mass, is, folks, if you see your coach and you're watching this show today, don't try to duplicate what Coach Mullins has done. Take a couple pages out of the book. Just take those pages, bring them back to your team, and work on those. When you've perfected those, take a couple more pages out of the book of Coach Mullins and do the same. If you can continue to do that, you will see your program succeed. Because people don't realize this, but it's not that Turner's Falls just has the best athletes in all of Franklin County. They just have the right tools to be able to make them better. And they're willing to listen and learn from the best. And when you do that, you see what the results are. Turner's Falls softball is no doubt the best high school program for any sport in any season in all of Franklin County. Period. It's not because they have the best athletes. It's because they have a teacher with students willing to learn. And that's why Turner's Falls softball is the best. As we say goodbye for another week, I want you to know that next week we'll run down the results of all of our winners of Western Mass. Hopefully we will have a couple. I'm hoping for 3. I would love to see a Western Mass championship for Frontier girls, the boys Frontier baseball team, and the girls Thunder team in Division 4. That would be absolutely wonderful. And I'm going to sit down with the 2 producers here at Greenfield Community Television, John Meisner and Philippe Simone, and we're going to sit down and talk about how they got into television, how they got into the media, and how important it's been in their lives. We're going to have that discussion with them and the results of the Western Mass tournament when we get together next week here on the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. So as we say goodbye, and a big congratulations to all of our teams that are still going on, and also we had a chance to be able to say goodbye to our seniors, I just want to say that there's a couple of kids that I did forget that I want to mention. Ashley Reynolds from good old Mohawk. Wonderful job there, Ashley, on what you did this year and throughout your career in all of athletics. What about Olivia Rowe from Pioneer, another superstar who was able to do so many wonderful things at her school for girls' sports? Those are a couple of the schools that I did forget that I wanted to make sure that I got some kudos out for, because those girls did some amazing things for their team. So as we say goodbye, we say thank you to you, the viewers, to the parents for the amazing job that they've done getting their kids to all of these events, to these wonderful athletes and the great achievements that they made throughout the school year, to the coaches for the time and the commitment that they put in to teach these kids how to be better athletes, better community people, and better teammates. And I want to thank Philippe Simone and John Meisner. I'm Bobby C. We thank you so much for tuning in each and every week to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. This is our final spring sports update. All we have really to do is give you some scores and updates for the tournament teams that are left, which is only a few, but we will have interviews throughout the summer. And then when we get back here in the fall, we'll be able to share these great achievements from all of these young athletes. So thank you for tuning in to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report, and thank you to the 4 Leaf Clover Restaurant, to Denny's Pantry, Sean Hubert of Hubie's Tavern and Restaurant, Avenue A in Turners Falls, and to Lisa Albert of Albert Hearing Services, 33 Riddell Street in Greenfield. We'll put two guys in the hot seat next week, John Meisner and Philippe Simone, and we'll talk about our tournament update as well. So then we got to get out there and root these teams on. So keep supporting your local athletes and have yourself a wonderful week. Take care, everyone.
Thanks for watching the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report on GCTV. Catch a game and be sure to join us next time for more sports and fun.